The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now, from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here are your hosts of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard and Taylor Welch.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for June 7th, 2026. This is season 15, episode number 75, and episode number 589 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. It is the 15th anniversary of the Binghamton Senators winning Binghamton's first ever championship. So if you're listening today, or maybe even the next day afterwards, happy anniversary if you were there. If you enjoyed that victory for the Binghamton Senators, they won down in Houston and then came up and on June 8th did a big, huge celebration and a party, great parade and whatnot. So obviously 15th anniversary of the Binghamton Senators winning their Calder Cup. And of course, you know, the Black Bears have topped that a little bit with their 3 championships in a row, three-peat. And Taylor and I have some very interesting stuff to talk about in this episode that we will be very coy. We're not going to give away all the details. We're not going to sell you the store, so to speak. But we are going to prepare you for what is probably going to be a very interesting few days for Binghamton Black Bears fans. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we haven't talked to you in a couple weeks. And yes, we're doing a Sunday show, which we usually reserve for the during the regular season. But we felt like we needed to come on here and talk to you, the fans, about what is going to happen. Taylor, how has the last couple weeks been since the last time we talked?
Crazy to say the least. Nonstop going. I know everyone's kind of in a slump because hockey's not around, but I've been the complete opposite. I think I'm moving more now than I was when hockey was happening.
100%.
Just telling you that I was forgetting what day of the week it was because I just so jobbled around and just the constant running and, got to get a race car ready, which I didn't think we were racing this year. I thought we were going to racetracks and getting videos and kind of traveling. And it somehow turned into we're actually racing this year. So it's already been like not necessarily a wrench thrown in the plans, but it's definitely messed up what we had planned for the summer, but in a good way.
No, 100%. And I've seen some of the video of Jeremy in the car and looking pretty good out there on the track. Taylor, the first bit of news that we do need to talk about, which is going to lead us probably into more of Thursday's conversation once we get to Thursday after everything has happened. But Mac Jansen is the first player, maybe the only player, maybe not the only player to retire. And not only just retire, but in Mac's situation, he becomes the new head coach of the Mid-South Monarchs, which is, of course, Andreas Johansson's second team right now in the FPHL. He's kind of a part of the Baton Rouge team as well, ownership group, but I don't think he is the number one driver with the Baton Rouge team. But Taylor, Mac Jansen retires and becomes the new head coach of Mid-South.
Yeah, I can't say that this surprised me. I've been kind of thinking that it was probably going to be his last legs. I mean, we all talked about how emotional he was kind of during some of these games, and especially during, the championship celebration. He's kind of going around and just taking it all in and making sure that he's got, he was taking videos constantly and pictures and just kind of savoring every moment. So to me, that was kind of telling me that he could be his last run. And then when it was announced that he was going to be a coach, I was not shocked at all. I'm pretty happy for him. And I think he's a good choice. And I'll be very interested to kind of keep tabs and figure out how it goes for him in his first season as a coach.
No, 100%. So I did talk to Brant Sherwood this past Saturday, specifically about Mac Jansen. And he was very excited for Mac. There is a very special story between Mac and Brant Sherwood, which Brant did tell here on the show, where Mac basically called him up and said, "Hey, listen, I have nowhere to go. I need to come somewhere. And he said, come here. And it was in the summertime. Brant welcomed him to Philly for a couple weeks, took care of him, and then eventually Mac came to the Binghamton Black Bears to play, and now has, been a champion here. He was a captain in Roanoke. He won a championship in Roanoke. And I think if you need to have somebody who understands the X's and the O's and understands the passion of the game and what it takes to win, you picked the right person in Mac Jansen. So I think this is a great thing for Mid-South and their fans down there. It'll be very interesting to see how they do, what players they pick up, obviously in the expansion draft, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. And maybe they pick up a player or two in the dispersal draft as well. And it'll be very interesting to see if he's got the same recruiting style, if there's any similarities between the way he'll build a team versus the way Brant Sherwood has built the team.
I'm sure there's probably some similarities there. And just, right off the bat, he's probably got one of the best mentalities that you could possibly want in somebody that is going to be coaching a team. So I have high hopes for him, and which is kind of weird to say, that, we're kind of rooting for another team that we're potentially going to be facing. I mean, who knows if we get any games against these guys, which definitely would be interesting. And I'm sure Andreas will be far, far away from those games. But I'm very excited to kind of see what he does and to see, the similarities and the differences. I think it'll be interesting to kind of put them side by side and see how it all works.
Now, of course, PD has left the league and gone to the SPHL, Taylor, and the Baton Rouge Zydeco are going to be rebranded into something else. Baton Rouge will not be selecting in the expansion draft. They have their players that they had last year that I think will be basically a part of this new team. Motor City has also been announced. They had like 7 guys, Taylor. 7 guys agreed to have their rights moved back to Motor City, even though they were on other teams, a couple of them even in Columbus with the River Dragons, who had a great, phenomenal end to the season. But 7 guys decided that they were going to go back to, the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan and Wyandotte, Michigan, to be a part of that team. That says a lot about the ownership group there with Motor City and Port Huron, Ken Andrews, and what he's done up there, that these guys were like, yeah, you know what? We'll go back. We'll play for the Rockers again next year.
Yeah, I think that was one of the key things that I picked up on is that, Motor City gets announced back and these guys want to go back. I think that says a lot. And I think it really shows that these guys want to play for that team. You never want to see a team come in and guys don't want to go there. We've seen that, kind of here and there with certain teams. So it's very exciting for Motor City to kind of get those guys back. And I'm sure even for their fan bases, I'm sure they're going to love to have the familiar faces of, quite a few guys coming back and being able to play for them again. So it's awesome to see that happening. And again, that just kind of goes for the ownership and the team itself. So yeah, I'm happy for them as well.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our must reads, because then I really want to get into the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about here, because I'm sure some of the fans really want to hear us talk about what's potentially going to happen this upcoming week here. Okay, the Power Play Post is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search the Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton hockey? Visit binghamtonhockey.net, your go-to source for stats, history, and all things Binghamton hockey. And this weekend, I actually started working on a record book of sorts, an official record book that I'm going to publish at some point within the next couple months, just before the beginning of the next season, that will have a really detailed set of records and information, stats, and some history about the Binghamton Black Bears' first 5 seasons. So that's very exciting. I was really glad to get that started, and I kind of teased everybody a little bit earlier today on that.
Yeah, it's very easy to see that you like numbers because you will spend a lot of time putting numbers together, and it's always so interesting too. You had sent us in our group chat something earlier in the week, and just kind of breaking stuff down. And I would never have thought about sitting there and looking at all the transactions from the past year and kind of putting it together and seeing what it was like. So it's always so interesting with the things that you can come up with and you're able to do.
Yeah, it was amazing that we had 8 trades. One of them brought a player to us. That was Dyson Skinner. And the other 7 were basically just sending people to other teams that we just didn't have, a big enough roster to be able to keep these guys on the team. And we only brought in one guy. Only 4 guys got suspensions. It was very interesting to look at the breakdown of the transactions, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it kind of just proved the point of I think we've been pretty spoiled, and I think that's something that's going to be kind of referenced here as the week goes on.
Yeah, very much so.
Power Play Post Show fans, do us a quick favor. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an episode of the show. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you're following the podcast and leave us a rating. It's completely free to do. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube and Spotify to push the show out to more Binghamton Black Bear fans and more hockey fans just like you. Drop a comment too. We read them and we love hearing from you.
Okay, so I'm going to skip all the way to the end of the first section here and to introduce this, and then I'll let Taylor start kind of reading through, and we're going to talk about some of these things. Basically, the expansion draft is Tuesday, June 9th at 6:30 p.m. The dispersal draft, which is going to include the Athens players and the Biloxi Breakers players, that'll happen on Thursday, June 11th at 1 p.m. There's only 2 rounds. It will not be televised. It will not be on the brand new FPHL YouTube channel. But the expansion draft at 6:30 p.m. will be. And I know that there's a lot of fans that are excited about watching this. They might break YouTube with the amount of fans that are going to watch us from around the league. I mean, we're talking about probably fans from California now to New York will be watching this. So there's going to, let's say Connecticut, because Connecticut's really, Danbury is the farthest east team, I believe, in the league. So there's going to be a lot of fans watching this. And I don't know how they're going to set this up yet, Taylor, who's going to be hosting it and running it. But I'm very excited about it. I really am. And I know a lot of other fans are. Now, I'm excited to watch it because it's going to be something that I think can kind of turn out pretty cool. But at the same time, there are reasons why I don't want to see it, because I know that there are going to be Binghamton players put on the list. Some might want to play next year. Some may not want to play next year. That's the Thursday conversation that we will have. But it's going to be very interesting. So let's get into the first section.
The FPHL announces the 2026 expansion and dispersal drafts, including first ever league-wide draft broadcast. The Federal Prospects Hockey League has announced details for its 2026 expansion and dispersal drafts, highlighted by the league's first ever coordinated draft broadcast, airing live on the FPHL's new YouTube channel at the FPHL. The 2026 FPHL expansion draft will take place on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, June 9th, with live coverage beginning at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Fans can watch the broadcast live by visiting YouTube and searching at the FPHL, or by going directly to youtube.com at the FPHL.
Okay, so Taylor, I think the important thing here is that they're giving us a way to basically take a knife and just stick it in our hearts very easily, very quickly, right? Because they're going to broadcast the thing, right? So if you're a fan in Port Huron and there's a guy that you absolutely love that played on the third line, or he was one of the third line defensemen, or he was the backup goaltender, or, you're a fan in Columbus and you guys helped this one guy out a lot and everything, he might get picked up by Oceanside. Or they gave us a dagger to our heart that is going to be interesting, but we get to at least see it, right? We get to see it live and maybe get to see it happen in real time, which I think is kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like a dagger to the heart.
See, I don't necessarily see it so much as a dagger. I mean, yeah, losing people that you really like is definitely hard. But at the same time, I'm way too nosy that I want to
You
know
want to
all the
know.
information. I want to know everything I possibly can. I want to know all the ins and outs. I want to know all the little dirty things that happen. Yeah, I just want to know everything. So for me, it's more like I get to watch this happen, and you can kind of maybe pick on other teams if they lose a certain player or something like that. So yeah, for me, it's definitely more excitement than it is a dagger to the heart.
It will be interesting, but I do want to say to Binghamton fans, your team isn't picking anybody, right? So the Black Bears are not picking anybody. So Tuesday night, you're just watching to see who gets picked.
Yeah, I think this kind of, I'm going to keep saying that we've been spoiled for the last several seasons.
Yeah.
And this one could definitely be a completely different song and dance.
Yep. Let's keep going on this.
The broadcast will give the fans an inside look at one of the most important roster building events of the offseason as expansion teams begin shaping their clubs for upcoming season. Coverage will include breakdown of the draft rules, how the process works, player selections, key stats, analysis, team roster construction, and interviews with the representatives from the expansion teams.
Now, I find this part obviously very interesting because they mentioned statistics, and you've already picked on me once today about statistics. But no, realistically, I am excited that first of all they're going to include a breakdown of the draft rules. I like that. So we're going to find out how many players can probably be taken from one team. There's probably a limit of sorts, and they're going to explain that, the process, and then the player selections themselves. I like this. I could see this with there being 8 rounds and 5 teams. 40 players are going to be selected, and then you're going to do some interviews with representatives from the expansion teams. I see this lasting about a good hour. I think there's a fair amount of chance that this could be an hour-long YouTube broadcast for the FPHL on their brand new first one. We'll see how this turns out.
Yeah, the only concern that I have about all of this happening is that it is the very first time that they're doing this.
Yeah.
So there's almost bound to be a hiccup or something goes wrong or something happen. One of those types of things where I feel like we're so like ready for this to happen, and the fans have been talking about wanting to be a part of this for years. And they're finally letting them have that. But, it could be like there's a hiccup or there's a confusing something or something isn't done correctly. I can just see something bad happening and it just like everyone's going to freak out type of thing.
Right.
So I think this one, you kind of be excited about it, but at the same time, like be prepared for something to go wrong, or maybe like if we crash YouTube and then it disappears or something. I don't know, something. I feel like something is bound to happen because it's the first time they're doing this, unless they've already they've tested it, they've worked out the kinks, they have it all completely figured out.
Yeah,
but yeah. I don't necessarily believe that to be true.
Yeah, not yet. Well, it is the Fed, right? And Fed will do Fed things, which will be very interesting. Now, this next segment is interesting because they mentioned something that I haven't heard about yet. It'll be very interesting once we do find out a little bit more about it.
This is an exciting moment for the FPHL and an important step forward in how we operate and connect with our fans, said Ken Andrews, the Board of Governors and the FPHL Operating Committee member. There has been an incredible amount of progress taking place behind the scenes since the league meeting. Change does not happen overnight, but it's moving at an incredible pace as we bring the league closer to solidarity toward the future. We are aligning these initiatives under our Fed Next program, which we will be talking more about throughout the summer. I could not be more excited about how the league is unifying around this new direction. This will raise every level of the FPHL, from our players to team operations to the fan experience. We're listening to our fans, and I could not be more excited for the future of the FPHL.
Okay, now, Taylor, the first thing I want to say about this, I don't know what Fed Next is. I'm very interested over the summertime learning more about this. And hopefully they do the one thing that we're doing here. We're reading a communication from the FPHL, usually before an expansion draft or the dispersal draft. We didn't get documentation like this. We didn't get communication like this. To me, this is one of the things that probably bugged PD so much and they left, is one of the things that I'm loving, is that we're getting that, because we didn't get that before. They didn't do the California teams and the Minnesota teams. They just announced it, and then they let the Board of Governors vote on it. And, afterwards, and that's why PD was so upset and wants to leave, and that's fine. Do that. That's okay. But I like the fact that we're getting this communication now, and I'm very interested in finding out what Fed next means.
Yeah, I feel like, because, obviously I read this before we started recording, and I do like the fact that they are trying to make these changes and that they're trying to make steps in the right direction. And that it seems more so now that they're really, they're trying to work with people, and they're trying to actually have certain things in place, and they are listening to the fans, and they're trying to do the correct things. So that's what I think I'm most excited about, and hopefully it keeps moving in that positive direction. I know that there's been like a lot of hoopla between like, well, 1 year we drop 5 teams, and then we add 5 teams, and we lose 2 more teams. And so I know that's kind of confusing and frustrating, and I do get that. But I think hopefully with the steps that they're taking this way and the initiatives that they're doing, that it kind of lessens that aspect, and it starts to grow in a better rate.
I agree with you very much. Now, this next 2 points, these 2 bullet points, I think are very important. So let's get into those.
The expansion draft will consist of 8 rounds, giving expansion teams the opportunity to build the foundation of their rosters while creating storylines across the league. Fans will be able to follow which players are selected, which teams they are joining, and how each expansion club begins to take shape. Teams may protect up to 12 players plus 3 college/junior players, with the remaining eligible players subject to the draft process. Protected lists submitted to the league will remain private and will not be released by the league, though teams may choose to share their own protected list at their discretion. The broadcast will also include coverage of Motor City's return rights and how those players factor into the draft process.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the 7 guys that decided to go back to Motor City, number one, they're going to be protected by Motor City. I think that Motor City will have that ability. I don't think those guys will be up for the selection process when it comes to the expansion draft. That's number one. Number two, obviously 8 rounds with 5 expansion teams. That is 40 players that will be selected. If you take the 9 teams, or I think there's 9 teams that you can pick from, that means that you're probably looking at 4 or 5 players from each team being selected. Now, Taylor and I have seen the protective list for the Binghamton Black Bears. The first thing I'm going to say to you fans, don't reach out to either one of us. We're not going to tell you. We're not going to discuss it with anybody. Brant gave me that selection list so we could talk about the importance of these 2 bullet points. These 2 bullet points are, there's going to be change in Binghamton coming up this upcoming year. And it's going to start this week. And there are things that you're going to see at the expansion draft, and maybe even beyond that a little bit, where players are not returning for whatever reason. And I'm just prepared. We weren't planning on doing this show until, I said, you know what, maybe we do need to prepare the fans for what's about to happen. Right. And so, and then Brant, I wasn't going to bug Brant at all. Brant actually reached out to me and said, hey, Bob, we need to talk about some things. Let's talk. And so I had an hour-long conversation with Brant on Saturday. And whether he comes back or doesn't come back, he's deeply involved and invested in this team, even going into the 26-27 season, to make sure that the team is set up, whether it's him or whether it's somebody else coaching the team. So that's the important thing. I don't want people seeing stuff on Tuesday and freaking out, right? There is a plan, and there's always been a plan when it comes to Brant Sherwood. So I want people to understand that whether he comes back, whether a player comes back, whether they don't come back, there's always a plan when it comes to Brant Sherwood, and he's going to make sure that next year's team is still set up to play well. I know he's already talked to a couple of college kids, rookies that would be coming in. So, But this upcoming Tuesday, you're going to see stuff. Taylor and I, like I said, we've already seen we know of certain players that are definitely not going to return. Mac Jansen is one of them. You're going to find out more, and you might see names come up on the expansion draft because people might pick somebody that we already know may not be returning. So I just want to throw that out there. And it's going to be an interesting night on Tuesday night. And I don't want people to jump off a cliff. I don't want people to go crazy and freak out. We're preparing you right now. Taylor, can you say anything positive at this point, please?
I think the really key factor here is understanding that this is the importance of having exit interviews and having the full transparency with your players. Is that Brant sits down with these players and he talks about the season. He talks about how things went, what they liked, what they didn't like, any details he can possibly get from these players. And then he goes, what is your plan moving forward?
Yes.
And from that information, whether they say, I'm done, I want to hang up my skates, I want to get out of here, I want to come back next season, I want to play here, I want to play for a different team, I want to coach, whatever their plan is, Brant is going to set them up to let them get that, to reach that level.
And to be
whatever
successful.
They want to do. If they want to go play in a different league, he will call people, he will do whatever he needs to do to try to set up these players for what they want and their life goal here.
Right.
So that is the importance of these exit interviews. So when Tuesday comes around, and if certain players get picked up by the other teams because they are not on our protected list, I would not be so shocked and jump to conclusions. I would kind of really think about things and understand that Brant really does his diligence when it comes to these exit interviews and the way that he has a process for how these things will go. There's quite a few players that I'm sure if you just kind of looked at the roster and you went, yeah, I could see them retiring, or I could see them, moving on with their life, whatever the situation might be. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that you just kind of have to look at. And their name might get called in the expansion draft, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go there because
they might be retiring.
Again, talk about. I think we mentioned it later on. Is the Don Oliveri situation. Yeah, everybody in Binghamton knew he was not going to go out there and play for him, and we all thought he was so silly for picking him up. But it meant that he couldn't play for us unless we made the trade. Yeah. So you might see stuff like that happening, but again, just understand that Brant really does his diligence when he does his exit interviews, and that there's a plan for everything, it seems like. Exactly.
There's a plan for everything. And I want to make sure everyone understands that. Let's go to the next point because we'll get down to that bottom section where we'll talk a little bit more about what we just talked about.
Following the expansion draft, the league will hold its 2026 dispersal draft on Thursday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Due to the shorter nature of the dispersal draft, it will not be televised. Players from Athens and Biloxi will be available in the dispersal draft, while players from PD will not be available due to the team's suspended status. Big question mark right there. I hope if you listen to this before Thursday, please explain what that means. What does that mean for those players' rights? Are you saying that none of those players that were on that team can play next year? Do they become free agents at some point? There's a lot of confusion on the PD roster and what will happen with those players. So hopefully they explain that. Right now, it just kind of seems like PD and the league are like in high school drama. Like I have not paid too much attention to what's been going on between them. But that's reading that the team suspended. I don't know. To me, it all seems a little bit silly to kind of have a team suspended. It seems like I can understand like being upset with the owner group or whatever is going on there, but to suspend the players who kind of probably didn't have a choice in what was going on, I don't know, just seems silly in my book. They're in the middle of an old-fashioned pissing match. And I know there's some other legalities and things going on that we're not going to get into because we're going to move on from here. The live expansion draft broadcast represents a new step in league-wide coordination, transparency, and fan engagement. The event is designed to give fans a clearer understanding of the draft process while creating excitement around new teams, returning players, off-season movement, and the future direction of the FPHL.
All right. So again, the fans are encouraged to subscribe to the league's new YouTube channel at FPHL and turn on notifications ahead of the live broadcast. And you should also go to the Power Play Post Show's YouTube channel and turn on the notifications. You should do that also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anything where else you listen to the Power Play Post Show. Figured I'd just get one more plug in there. So that'd be interesting.
It was excellently placed. So
Thank you. All right. Fans need to be prepared for things like unprotected players who have been the regulars here in Binghamton for the last 3 to 5 seasons. Their names will likely come up during the expansion draft. I do believe that if we have somebody that is not on the protected list that is been a good player over the past few years or even 5 years for that matter, their name might come up and you might see them on there. So that's very interesting. Mid-South and Mac Jansen, the new head coach, will likely pick up a player or two for Binghamton. And think about that for a second, Taylor. He has an advantage, right? Because he played on the team last year. So there might be somebody that's not on the protective list that he could pick up because he knows what they're going to bring to the table.
yeah, I definitely think he's got an advantage in certain aspects because I feel like there's quite a few other players. I'd have to look at who he's all played with, but I feel like there's probably quite a lot of people that he knows pretty well in this league.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like, again, I think Mac is a good choice for being a coach, and
Yeah.
I truly wish him the best. And as much as things are probably going to change for Binghamton, I feel like this year we're probably going to have a bigger roster change. Just because I feel like we're going to be missing quite a few players. I mean, Mac's already gone, which kind of sucks because he had an excellent season with us, but at the same time, he had an excellent season with us. So
Yeah.
very happy for him to kind of end on such a high note.
And you and I could probably also say, Taylor, that we're not going to see Connor McAnanima next year, right? I'm pretty confident that Connor isn't going to come into camp. He's not going to start the season with us, and he's probably going to be in the SPHL, more than likely with Peoria, and or maybe in a training camp in the ECHL to actually start the upcoming season. So he's another guy. I don't think we're going to see him. I think it's fair to say that I could say that without, hurting anybody. And I also think there's a couple other younger players that also might try to go to the SPHL or ECHL camps. And the other person I could think of there would be like a Zach Sirota. Zach definitely enjoyed his time in Peoria and really wanted to go up there. And I'm not throwing anything out there. It's not like I have any inside information about Zach Sirota, and I would never speak for Zach. But I just have a feeling, this is a sports talk show where we can talk about some of these things. And I think Zach is one of those guys, Connor for sure, that are probably going to either start the season in the SPHL or try to start the season in the ECHL.
I wouldn't be surprised if, there was quite a few more players that were trying their hand in an SP camp or, doing anything of that sort to try to, go up a higher level or,
Sure.
Try different things. Nobody wants to stay in the Fed long term unless you're Gavin Yates.
Well, he loves Binghamton.
I just got to pick on him there. But
he loves Binghamton. He loves Binghamton. Let's be honest.
He's been in this league for a decent amount of time, but he seems to really enjoy himself, and I can't blame him. He's had some great years, and we keep saying that at some point he's got to slow down. I feel like he purposely has to prove us wrong, which again, fine by me. But
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if we see some other players, at least attempting to go to a camp or something of that nature. There's so many guys on this team that have so much talent. So it's just again, kudos to Brant for being able to recruit just awesome talent all around.
Okay. Players who are not protected, and there's some players that are not protected, obviously. Binghamton had 24 guys, I think, on their roster with all the college kids and everything. And you can protect 12 plus three college kids. So that's 15 players. That means there's 9 players up for grabs. Well, if some of them are going to retire or be like in the Don situation where Don probably, if Don wasn't selected, Don might have still came up and played a few games. I don't think he could have played as many as he wanted to because he was in the fire department. But players who are not protected, who are indicating internally that they're retiring. And what I mean by that is there's probably going to be a few guys that might say, Brant, I'm not coming back. He leaves them off the protected list. they could be selected, but it could be just like the Don Oliveri situation. But don't freak out. Some of these guys who may choose to do that have thought about it. They already knew. And I want to remind everybody of one thing. And Taylor, this is something that you specifically noticed. Nobody at the celebration talked about the 4-P, going for 4. And I think that was a conscious decision. You brought it up on our last broadcast. And I think it's very important to understand and remember, because if we see a big amount of change, which we could see a moderate amount of change for sure, this, I think these guys already knew.
Oh, yeah. I think a bunch of them kind of, if anything, it was kind of a good closing chapter. Mm-hmm. And even for the players who, they could be thinking about retirement and they could possibly want to come back. I still think that ending it, you got your 3rd championship. And for some of the guys, it was their 3rd. For some of them, it was their 1st with us. So I just think it was really a high note to end on, and they didn't want to sell anything to the fans that they couldn't keep.
Yes.
And I truly, truly believe that. I think they care so much about the fans and, all the fan support and everything that the fans have done for them, that I truly believe in my heart that they did not want to go out there and promise the fans that they were going to go for 4 if they knew that they couldn't do it. Yeah. And I'm not saying that they can't. I'm just saying, like, I feel like a lot of these guys kind of like that could have been the end of the road for them. But we all know, Kyle Steffen gave an excellent retirement speech and then came back. So anything is possible.
To be fair, it wasn't a speech. It was an interview. I was a part of the interview. Yes. I thought the interviewer and the interviewee did a really good job, both of us. But it was very heartfelt. And I'm okay with him giving me the Kiss Farewell Tour treatment. I really do. I really do believe in his heart of hearts he was retired. But then he went and sat. And listen, any of you guys that are retiring, if you are retiring, don't show up.
Don't come back.
Don't come back to Binghamton, because Andreas is going to sit up in that up in his owner's box. And he's going to try to entice you. He's going to be like, "Hey, are you sure you don't want to come back? I got, let me open up the pocketbook, the checkbook here." Right. And so if you want to retire, don't come back the first year after you're retired, because Kyle Steffen couldn't say no. He came back. He wanted to play, which good for Kyle. And again, I'm okay with Kyle giving me the Kiss Farewell Tour treatment and coming back. I don't believe he lied to me at all in that interview. I truly believe that at the end of that interview, he was like, "All right, I said it out loud. I'm done." And then he came back to get his ring, and that was bad. They should just FedEx overnight ship all the rings to all the players before opening night and get that out of the way. That's just my thought process on that.
I 100% agree. I think he was 1000% so truthful in that he was going to be done.
Yeah.
But he's not even the first player to be like, it's hard to leave Binghamton. I mean, we've heard it from Fitzy. We've heard it from
Andrew Logar keeps coming back. He won the championship in the first year. I mean, he takes off his shirt. He acts like a crazed fan. That's because he loves Binghamton. The players love this city a lot, but at the same time, and this is part of this conversation that you and I are having, some guys might move on, and it's okay. We saw it during the middle of the season for Zach and Connor, where they voluntarily like, let's go and do something else and see if it helps our career, and that's okay. Austin Thompson left the team. He didn't feel like he was in the best place that he needed to be. He left the team. It's okay. Not every one of these guys can stay. All right. The upcoming next weeks will start to define the Black Bears 6th season with some big changes. However, a good core or a decent core of this team, a decent amount of players could be back. We'll see. And Taylor, I'm going to let you ask the last and probably the most important question that fans are probably thinking in the back of their head right now.
Will Brant Sherwood be back?
this is one that I put at the end of this because right now Brant Sherwood is 100% acting and responding as the head coach of the Binghamton Black Bears. He is reaching out to players. He told me that he's got 2 guys that he's really looking forward to getting them here in Binghamton from the D3 ranks. He is also actively seeking jobs in the ECHL. That's just normal. There were a few positions that were available in the ECHL. So the question is there a challenge big enough for him to come back and coach in Binghamton? I don't know if there is, because even if you say, oh, going for 4, that's the big challenge. No minor pro hockey team has ever won 4 in a row. NHL teams have, but no minor pro hockey team. I'm not saying that because I know Brant's going to listen to this and Brant will be like, oh, that's a challenge. I can do that. Screw you, Bob. I can do that. Right? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he's to the point now in his career, he's got to do what's best for him to move up. And it may not be staying in Binghamton in the FPHL. So will Brant Sherwood be back? Only Brant Sherwood knows that question, the answer to that question right now. And I don't think he knows yet either. And I think that's the important thing here. But he is acting 100% and solely being and interacting like he is the head coach of the Binghamton Black Bears. And he will be until he's not. And then when he's not, he's already promised me and said to me, I'm going to do whatever I can this summer to make sure that whether I'm back as head coach or somebody else is in as head coach, they have a foundation that will set up Binghamton. And that's, if you guys take anything from this conversation that Taylor and I are having, understand that no matter what happens on Tuesday, because Tuesday is really the big day, right? Who leaves? Who gets picked up? Who do we lose the rights to, right? Brant has always had a plan since day one. Even when he fired all of your favorite people in the whole wide world, Gino D'Angelo and all those guys, when he got rid of MJ Merkel, who I absolutely think is awesome, and I love MJ Merkel. And if MJ, you're listening to this, I want to get you back on this summer. So definitely we need to hook up and get you back on, talk about the whole Danbury situation. Literally, I want people to understand Brant has always had a plan and it's always worked out. So whether he's back or not, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I thought I could answer that question a few days ago, but I don't think I can answer that question. So we'll find out soon enough. It's going to be a big summer and a big season of off ice stuff that's going to change, and it'll be very interesting. Taylor, if Brant doesn't come back, what's your thought process of this upcoming season if he doesn't come back? Do you think that we stay at the top of that Empire division, or do you think there's a little bit of a tiny slippage, even if he helps set up this team to be, kind of still stacked?
I think that really comes down to the team. Mm-hmm. I think that, Brant is doing everything in his power to set Binghamton up for success, which is what he's been doing since he's come in. Yeah. And I think that's already huge. And if he doesn't stay, a new coach comes in, whether if Q takes it over or if somebody else takes it over, or whatever happens with that, and we have a brand new coach this upcoming season that is not Brant Sherwood, I think if the team that is put together, because Brant's probably going to have a good casing here, that if they have the mindset to do it, I truly think that they could still stay on top. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I think that the competition this upcoming season, and I keep saying this, but, Watertown's got a new coach now. Port Huron's been strong for a good portion of the time. Mac Jansen's going to be a coach now. So I really do think the competition this year is going to keep everybody a lot tighter. But I'm the optimist, and I truly think that we could potentially stay on, especially if we have a good core of guys coming back. that we've had, a couple seasons, last season, however many, guys do come back, or however it plays out here in the next, 2 days.
Right.
I truly think that they could. I truly believe that whatever team is put together, especially by Brant Sherwood, has the ability of staying on top. And I truly think that he has grown a lot.
Yeah.
And I really think it shows something that he didn't just, I get that they didn't sell, that they were going to go for 4, and it's hard to kind of find that competition when you've done 3 in a row, and that's pretty hard to, what do you do after that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he didn't come out and he was like, I'm not the coach anymore, I'm out. He didn't do something like that where he's still he's still acting like a coach. He's still doing all the steps. He's still doing all the things. He didn't just quit being a coach and let somebody else get hired and step in. He's, he is dipping his toes and trying to get into the ECHL, and nobody's going to blame him for doing that or trying to do that and trying to get his footing in the door there. But he's still doing everything here in Binghamton.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I truly 100% believe that we could stay on top.
Okay. Now, I did ask Chris Paulin for a comment, and this is what he said.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're very fat and happy over there.
And fans, I just want you to remember that. Don't forget that. We're fat and happy over here. We just won 3 championships. So no matter what happens over the next couple days.
Yeah, I think it's nice that they're very fat and happy over there.
Just remember that, okay? All right, so the power play. So, Taylor, thank you very much. This was great. I hope the fans totally understood why we did this. We wanted to talk about it. The expansion draft will be at 6:30 p.m. on the YouTube channel for the FPHL, which is the FPHL over on YouTube. If you haven't gone over and subscribed to it, I have a feeling we're going to see more stuff over there than we've seen in the past, which I think is a very good thing. And I think the communication is going to keep getting better. But Taylor, again, thanks for kind of putting some thoughts together in the middle of the summertime when everything's crazy for you.
Yeah, well, I've been looking forward to this. The expansion draft is always something I've never fully understood, which is why I'm very glad that they're broadcasting it, because it's been kind of confusing to kind of keep up with everything, all the moving pieces.
Yes.
And I had actually had a conversation with somebody earlier, and I've kind of had the same conversation with you, where I don't pay too close attention to all the moving pieces that are happening right now, because, what's true today could be completely false tomorrow.
Exactly.
So it's so hard to just keep track of every little possible detail. So that's just another case of what happens on Tuesday. Don't freak out about it. Just watch it happen, take it in, take a couple days to think about it. We'll bring it back in on Thursday and we'll go over it, and we'll have everybody all together, and we'll go through everything and make sure everybody's on the same page at that point. But I'm very excited to see what this next week holds.
This is why we do not write almost immediately afterwards our thoughts on stuff. We a lot of times will take the night, the evening, a few hours to process that information. When we do our writings, I truly believe in that process. I believe if you stick a microphone in front of someone who just lost the Super Bowl, they're going to tell you to F off and get out of their face. They're not
AKA Chris Paulin.
Him too, yes. You're not going to get an accurate or a very true, concise, bit of information from that person. You're going to get, emotion.
The emotion.
and emotion is not always the best way to be able to analyze something, right? Me going in, if the team loses a game 9-8 and we were leading 8-1 at one point, and then we gave up 8, goals to last thing you want to do is talk to me after that game. I mean, Taylor's been there. She's seen me go off and go, what the frick you did? Oh my God. And, I'm cursing and I'm going nuts and I'm punching off-ice officials up in the press box. No, I never did that. But God,
You did pace a couple of times.
I did pace a couple of times, right? And that's the emotion, that's passion and stuff like that. So fans, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. We'll talk to you on Thursday and we'll break it all down. And we'll talk about some of the big things, some of the little things. And I'm hoping to have a guest on the show as well. I don't know who yet, but I'm hoping to have a guest on the show. Okay. The Power Play Post Show is available on all major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on your favorite app, and don't forget to subscribe. And yes, my voice is cracking for some reason. Join the conversation on Facebook. Search Power Play Post Show and become part of our community. Looking for everything Binghamton Hockey, visit binghamtonhockey.net. Thank you to Rob LaPolis, our MC, John Petitucci, our music director, who I get to see in just a few weeks because he's coming up for a class reunion. So I'm very excited about that. Normally living down in Texas, coming up to New York. I am Bob Howard. She is
Taylor Welch.
And we'll talk to you guys next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.